Hi everyone, welcome to this class. So we're going to paint this flower today. These are the colors. You want to have your colors pretty lit with water. So I'm using my long quill size toothbrush and I'm wetting the petal except for this folded part. So I'm not going to wet that part. This is my round 8, this one, and this is a long quill right there. Size 2, so obviously this is much smaller, but this is a round brush and this is a quill brush. So I'm going to switch now since I have it here. And I'm going to get in between these stamens. So whatever you feel like that's the strongest yellow, like I'd say here and right here, I'm pressing a little harder on the paper. Well, one is to release more of the paint, but also to control this spreading. I'm going over same area again. But this part here is where we have these yellowish undertones, and I'm also going where like I'm gonna apply this quin magenta and quin violet as well. So quinacridone, magenta and violet, and then the stamens, because it's the same time I'm wetting it, so might as well just go there. And then I want more like a, I'm trying to grab this like a thicker paint. Of course I have a quill brush, it's a little different because the paint is just kind of spreading, or not spreading, but it's more diluted with water. I don't mind that because I really want this to be like more like this in these areas, a little darker. And for this flower, because of the background, if you want to add the background, you want to have a little more lighter areas, but this petal specifically feels a little more like darker, right? So I think this is okay when we can add a little more of these yellowish undertones. And this is where you want to start grabbing slowly this quin magenta and quinacridone violet. And here we go, we start adding colors. So this is where why we have like we didn't clean our brushes, but we went for the quin magenta and quin violet, because we want to have like a soft transition between colors too. So that's why like I didn't clean my brush again, and I grabbed this quin magenta and quin violet. And here I'm going to grab this quin magenta, and this is actually quin violet and then quin magenta. What I'm grabbing is between like a cream top and heavy cream and cream top like ratio, and you can see like the paint, like it's not spreading as much, right? So maybe this is too thick. If it's too thick, I'm not gonna continue here. Instead, I'm gonna release this paint right here. And then once I feel like I have way less of that paint on my brush, that's when I'm gonna go back here, circle back here. And then the paint is spreading, of course, more because I was touching this area and this area is wet. But I don't want the paint to be so concentrated around some of these areas. Now, once you apply color, it doesn't mean you just leave it alone, right? You still can play with colors. So like here we have like spots and stuff like that. So I'll show you what I did in my previous or test. What I need to do is quickly go with this damp brush. This is a damp brush, but I need to really wipe it well on a towel because I need to go all the way towards to the end there, because that's not the shape otherwise of the flower or the petal. So all the way like this, and then I'm also lifting at the same time because that area is lifted. Okay, now this is the moment where I need to grab this kind of like a cream top or heavy cream like ratio of that quin magenta and quin violet. And this is perfect timing for me to add this because this is not, I didn't lose the shine here yet from the paper. Actually, when you lose the shine, it's the perfect timing to lift the colors, as a matter of fact. I'm gonna go back here. This is like last seconds, or I guess last minute, where I can add a little bit. Here, this is already too dry. I still added a color, but this is how you just watch the paper, how it's drying, and based on that, you can make that call, like, okay, can I add more color, or maybe not, maybe it's already too late. Like for example, I grabbed this cream top here, and this is pretty like drying like super fast. So if I want to add more, I might have to actually re-wet this, but I'm still gonna try my best because there's a lot of areas that are still slightly wet. Like this is kind of damp, and I still didn't add like that those drops, I guess, the splatter that I'm gonna use for that my mini mop brush. There's different ways to do it. If you just want to use the brush, you can just do this. Just with the tip of your brush, you will touch the paper like this. See, so that's one way to do it. Very gently, you touch the paper. Or you use like a brush that you feel comfortable with to splatter paint. You want to control that splatter though, because it's easy to lose control when you splatter actually. And I generally just do like a small splatter. So I have a brush for that, and I'm going to show you. I'm going to clean this one that I have here. This is my mini mop. It's Princeton's Velvet Touch 1/8 size. It's a very small brush. It's a very small brush. So you grab, it's something like between heavy cream and maybe half and half and heavy cream. You gotta feel it out, because you don't, if you have any drop of water, you basically create a bloom. Now this leaf is much bigger. Also, the areas that are like have lighter, the lines over the edges or in the middle here are a little like more evident, like we can see them better. So that's when we really want to pay attention to the timing to lift the colors. The first step is to wet it. So I'm using my long quill size 2 brush. So first thing is yellow. So there's my imidazzle yellow. Now I don't want this to be heavy cream or anything like that yet. This is more like between water milk like ratio. Now when you apply this yellow again, you don't want to make it super even, like, oh, this is, I want exactly like the same amount of yellow here and there. No, you don't need to, because the leaf looks different, and of course under different light and everything, but also like the texture is different depending on what part of it you're looking at. So now with that same brush, I'm just grabbing a little more water. I'm grabbing a little more water and then more of this imidazzle yellow, and then I'm grabbing this sap green as well, which is kind of slightly blended already with the sap green. I'm sorry, with the imidazzle yellow on my palette, but I didn't do too much. And then more of that sap green, phthalo blue sap green, and then I'm gonna grab in the second some of the indigo too. Now maybe this is a little too dark. If you feel like it's too dark, you want to go back and grab some of the sap green. I feel like I might have to squeeze some sap green. Might not have enough. So I'm gonna slightly pull it. Kind of staying away from the lighter areas, even though I'm going to lift those parts. And then it's time to make it maybe a little darker, right? So as you see, like at first I had a little too much of the phthalo blue. So then I kind of toned it down with grabbing more of the green, which green was actually with the imidazzle yellow. So then there, I do have actually sap green right here. I didn't even realize that. So maybe some of the indigo, which is right here. And now I grab more like a heavy cream-like ratio. Of course, I have a quill brush, so the paint will be spreading a little more, like, because the quill brushes hold a lot more water and paint. And these are, some of the parts are a little, should be a little darker because the shadows. So I'm gonna grab a little more of this sap green with some indigo and phthalo blue actually. And I'm gonna place it closer towards the petal, for example, here. So as usual, please let me know if you have any questions. If you need to add some darks, please don't be afraid to add more color, to add a second layer, because everything is just basically, well, except the stamens maybe, is all one layer. Here's my test piece. This is my test piece, and this is the piece from this class. So thank you so much for your time, and please let me know if you have any questions.